Where's all the brahmacharis? Key. Hiding in the ashram? Key. Get them out right now? Key. Where's all the brahmacharis? They're hiding. They're all busy? What happened to the brahmacharis? No more? They're coming in one at a time. There's another one. If you see any loose brahmacharis, just drag them in. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this is the third and the conclusion of this seminar, which is entitled, Why Now More Than Ever Is It Important to Read and Study Srila Prabhupada's books. So we have so far gone through, there's 65 different slides, and we have so far done about 45, almost 50 slides. So we will continue. If you can recall, I'll give you a little recap. The principle is that Srila Prabhupada has given us his books, his lectures, his conversations, which make up his morning walk, and his room conversations, and his conversations in other venues with devotees, letters, and his personal instructions that he's given to various disciples. Which demon is that back there? Is that the demon? If you find him, tell him Krishna's going to chase him. That's the sleepy demon, he's snoring. Okay, so no demons allowed. If the demons want to come in, they have to pay. Okay, so, and then these 5 categories. Now we're getting to the dog demon. Okay, Hare Krishna. So, out of these 5 different categories of Prabhupada's way of distributing his transcendental knowledge to us, we can break it down that as time goes on, it becomes more and more harder to understand what Prabhupada gave and what he meant by what he gave, how he used it in different situations to solve different spiritual and even what we say day-to-day problems, and how he wanted us to learn it and understand it and become expert at speaking it also. So this whole presentation centers around that, the different aspects of Prabhupada's knowledge and how we're meant to use this knowledge in different categories, such as the theological understanding, the practical understanding, the preaching understanding, the principles of how this philosophy connects with morality and integrity, spiritual morality, spiritual integrity. All of these are results of what Prabhupada wanted for us to understand and practice based on the knowledge he gave us. So it's quite diverse. It's not just by knowing the verses, it's more like reading, understanding, applying, preaching, and actually developing the qualities of a Vaishnava based on practicing this knowledge in our day-to-day execution of devotional service. So we have done so far, for those who, how many of you haven't been, we're only here for the first time today? Some people, they need translation. How many of you here for the first time today? Okay, we have some, where's Vyasadeva, is he here? Do we still have some of those printouts with the verses on it? Okay, so if anybody didn't get this printout, it's 4 verses spoken by Sanatana Goswami about how he glorifies Srimad Bhagavatam. They're prayers, actually. They're more than verses. They're actually his prayers to Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay? So this particular program is interactive. That means I ask you to read the different statements that come up on the screen.
हिंदी अनुवाद पीछे चल रहा है, जो भी भक्त लोग हिंदी अनुवाद सुनना चाहते हैं, पीछे साउंड सिस्टम के पास अक्षर गोविंद को अनुवाद करें.
Okay, so some of these slides are photos of deities, Srila Prabhupada, and other. So we start off with one, and that is, where is Srila Prabhupada? Who can say where he is in this picture? You're 50% right. Try to get the other 50%. No, it's in London, but it's not Bhaktivedanta Manor. No? Seven-Bury Place, the first temple in London. Seven-Bury Place. And Prabhupada's dancing with his fledgling disciples. Okay, now we're getting to the part where we're talking about the mood and the mission of Krishna consciousness. Okay? Now this gets very philosophical, and so it can be understood in different ways. So here, we'll get someone to read.
Mood and mission. Understanding and appreciating the mood and mission of Srila Prabhupada and perpetuating that understanding within the ISKCON society and its members.
So the mood, what is the mood? When we speak about mood, what does it mean? Okay, everything should be done by microphone. Okay.
Attitude, the feelings.
Yeah, but how is it? Yeah, so mood is not separate from mission, so how does it connect? What is the mission and how does the mood connect to the mission? What is that? What is the mood of the mission, you might say? We need microphones because everyone should hear the responses.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. It's spreading consciousness.
Okay, so what is the mission and what is the mood of the mission? Well, unless we have a microphone, we can't really hear anybody. Only 3 people can hear.
Hare Krishna. To develop Krishna Prema.
To
develop Krishna Prema.
Develop Krishna Prema. Okay, develop Krishna. That is actually the goal, or you might say the mission. And the mood is?
To save the conditioned fallen souls from material energy.
Well, here it says within the ISKCON society and its members. So it's it's more exclusive here in this statement.
To give transcendental knowledge.
To learn the process of devotional service and to understand the goal that the process is meant to give us. So the mood is devotional service, and the goal is to develop prema pumartha maha, to develop love for Krishna, okay, within the society of its members. Okay, next one.
Okay. Understanding of Srila Prabhupada's mood and mission gives you a clear sense of identity and purpose within his society and balanced sense of one's place within ISKCON's overall mission.
Okay, now how the mission plays itself out. There are 5 photos here, so I'm going to point so you can tell me which one. I'm going to point to one and then you tell me what is this activity that is being displayed here. Deity worship. Cow protection, or what we might say, Vanashram. Prasadam distribution. Harinam, Sankirtan, and book distribution. So you might say these are the principal activities within the society, which is the activities that bring about the mood and the mission. Okay? Is there anything else that we left out here? And is there any another major part of Prabhupada's mission that was not displayed here? Can someone think anything? Chanting is there. Scriptures there. Yeah. Giving the books, you read them once you get them. You don't just put them on your shelf. Okay, so you might say, what are some of the other activities? I think these are the main ones. And anything else is just to support any one of all of these main ones. Okay? All right, so how many like doing deity worship as their favorite service? Just raise your hand. How many like doing Harinam Sankirtan as your favorite service? Okay. Okay, how many like to distribute prasadam to the fallen souls out there as your favorite service? Okay. How many like book distribution? Okay, what are you doing in the temple? You should. Okay, and how many really like being on the farm, doing agriculture, taking care of cows? Good. So devotees like everything. Not too many are favorable to deity worship, but that's all right. Okay, so here we go.
In conclusion, if a disciple is very serious to execute the mission of the spiritual master, he immediately associates with the Supreme Head by Vani or Vapu. This is the only secret of success in seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Instead of being eager to see the Lord in some bush of Vrindavan, while at the same time engaging in sense gratification, if one sticks to the principle of following the words of the spiritual master,
oops, what happened?
he will see the Supreme Lord without difficulty. Srimad 4:28-51 purport.
Yeah, so this is the secret of success. If a disciple is very serious to execute the mission of the spiritual master, you might say getting involved in one or more of these activities of devotional service and developing it, then instead of trying to try to find Krishna somewhere in Vrindavan hiding in the bush with his gopis, which you can't do anyway. Because Krishna won't let you. So, best to absorb oneself in these different activities. And it's here, this is important. It says, oops, what am I doing here? Okay. Here, where is the word here? This is in seeing the personality of Godhead. In other words, Krishna reveals himself when you become absorbed in devotional activities. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam 4:28-51. Okay, so now we're going on to another topic.
Academic and moral integrity. In studying and preaching the scriptures, it is necessary that we have moral
and academic integrity in the interpretation, evaluation and application of Shastric knowledge.
Try to understand that. It's important that when we study and we also preach, that we keep the essence of what is being said and not try to restructure it according to our own desires. In other words, the word integrity is here. Oops. Integrity. In the interpretation, integrity in the evaluation, integrity in the application. So what is, here Prabhupada describes integrity. What is integrity?
Doing what is right even when it is difficult.
Yeah. In other words, following the instructions of the spiritual master and the knowledge given, and not trying to make it easy by changing it around. It may be difficult to speak the truth. It may be difficult to understand how that truth is applied, but still, don't try to create something different or something new in order to get around and making it easy or different. Okay, is that clear? Yes.
Like in the case when integrity has not been kept.
That's coming up. These are the next slides showing how one can, you'll see it. Okay. It's coming up. Here is an example of poor or dishonest use of scripture. Okay, so here we go.
The tendency to quote only half a shlok when the second half modifies or qualifies the first.
And then we get the example.
The personality of Godhead replied, the renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation.
Okay, so there we go, it's clear. But then, second half of the sloka.
But of the two, work in devotional service is better than renunciation of work.
Yeah. So someone will want to correlate these two on the same level, but then they're only quoting half the sloka. And it says out of the two, devotional service is better than simply renouncing material activities. Okay? Here's an example of how someone can, use the scriptures in a less, accurate way. Okay, here's some more of that.
Choosing and quoting only verses, evidence that support our own opinion and neglecting others.
Prabhupada said, take prasadam, so that's what I do as my service. Or all women shouldn't I better not say that one. So people will take things out of context and use it to support their own ideas, like that. Women shouldn't be given the same rights as men, but then Prabhupada said, women are just as good as the men, but don't try to find out. So you can take things that Prabhupada said and apply it to your own ideas in order to prove your own points. What would you call that? How would you describe that type of mentality? If you're taking just part, or you're looking for things in the scriptures to support an idea that you want to propagate as the truth, what would you say that would be? Yeah, but give it more clear. It is personal motivation. It's cheating. It's cheating, but it looks good. It looks like you're following scriptures, but you're using scriptures just to get your own ideas across, rather than what the actual meaning is within the context that it's given. Okay? Here's another example.
Citing context-relevant materials as absolute truth or quoting out of context.
Two things. Taking things within the context as the absolute truth, or quoting out of context. So what would be an example for making some statement within a certain context and saying that it's the absolute truth? What would be an example? Any examples? Can anyone think of an example? Okay, give her the microphone. Sure.
I might be wrong. Prabhupada distribute books, so distribute books. That is enough.
Yeah, if you're not distributing books, you're in Maya. In other words, distribute books, and that's all you have to do. That's a good one. Yeah. Any other examples?
As Shrutakirti Prabhu once said that once Srila Prabhupada had 7-Up, so everyone was saying that in ISKCON we could have 7-Up. That story.
So one time Prabhupada wanted some fizzy drink. So, you have your limca here in India. I remember when I first came to India, limca was the drink, for So they brought Prabhupada some 7-Up. And Prabhupada drank the 7-Up, and he said, The devotees thought, wow, Prabhupada really likes this. And he'd take another sip and he'd go, Yeah, Prabhupada did that. So now the word was out, Prabhupada likes 7-Up. So every temple should stock cases of 7-Up. And so and everybody was stocking 7-Up. And then the devotees were thinking, well, Prabhupada did it. I can do it also. That's a good example. Or, what was it? What would be another example of quoting things within context as being the absolute truth? Prabhupada says, Krishna is a lusty boy. He said that. But does that mean that's how you describe Krishna? No. What's an example of quoting out of context? The other way around, taking something and taking it out of the context and using it as absolute truth. Any examples? Yeah, that's a statement for the materialists. But Prabhupada said when a woman becomes a devotee, she becomes just as intelligent as the men, or maybe even more. So yeah, that's again taking it out of context. Good.
Arguing or debating largely or wholly on the basis of emotional appeal.
arguing on the basis of an emotional appeal. That using your high energy and speak very enthusiastically with a lot of energy, a lot of emotion, that means that, that's what we call a tactic in order to win an argument or a debate. Rather than getting into the essence of what is being said, the emotion becomes the subject matter. In other words, whoever speaks the loudest is the person who's right. Whoever speaks the most is the person who's right, but not necessarily. Okay, what's another one? There's the last one here.
Quoting a verse that doesn't actually explain that which we are discussing, or whose meaning is unclear and or ambiguous.
Quoting a verse that doesn't actually explain that which we are discussing, or whose meaning is unclear or ambiguous. Any examples? Quoting a verse that actually doesn't explain what you're talking about.
People mostly use the verse karmanyevadikaraste just to prove about
karmanarivadaste ma phalechu kadachana ma karma tarahetu abur Mate sangosa karmani. You have a right to perform your prescribed duty. You're not entitled to the results of activity. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activity. Never be attached to not doing your duty. But that's swadharma. That's not devotional activity. That section of the Bhagavad Gita is about karma yoga. So using that verse to describe devotional service. It's not. Okay, something that's ambiguous or unclear.
Maharaj, like there are some verses which use the word kaivalya. So,
Kevala?
Yeah, kaivalya. So
Kaivalya?
Yeah. So these verses are explained in impersonal way by impersonalist because it uses the word kaivalya.
Yeah. Okay, or using the word nirguna. Guna means, in that sense, material activities. So nir means without material activities, but they'll interpret it without any activities. So people will say nirguna means without any activities, no activities, but we understand it from Shastra and from Guru, it means no material activities. So Krishna is called nirguna, that doesn't mean he has no activities, but he has no material activities. He's still very active. That's a good one. Thank you. Okay, so next one. Here's another one we can discuss.
Somebody is misusing the word Soham, Aha Brahmasmi, and therefore I am the Supreme. But that is not. These are the Vedic words, but Soham does not mean I am God. Soham means I am also the same quality.
So that person has used that Soham, that is, I am that. What is that? I don't know, but I am it. They can't even tell you what they say I am that, or it is me. But they actually mean I am God. But the actual verse means I am the same quality of the Lord. He is Supreme Spirit, I am also Spirit. But I am not the Supreme Spirit. So things have to be understood in relationship to Scripture and Guru and not simply taking things out of context and giving your own ideas. It's very fashionable to do that. I was on an airplane, one person was talking to me, very nice person, then he opened up and he showed me a Bhagavad Gita that was written by his guru. It teaches that Shiva is the supreme. Haribol. And he wanted to give me a copy. I said, Krishna is supreme. He knew I was a Krishna Bhakta, so he didn't push it. Which deities are that? Radha Rasa Bihari? No. Who said? There's a lot of Radhas, but I can't catch the... Huh? Radha Govinda? No. Radha who? Radha Gokulananda, correct. From where? Yeah, Bhaktivedanta Maharaj. Radha Gokulananda from Bhaktivedanta Maharaj. Okay, taking responsibility for learning.
We must take responsibility for our learning and develop healthy study habits. Developing a taste and appreciation for the study of Srila Prabhupada's books and understanding the relevance of Shastra within one's life will inspire us to study and study well. Understanding how we learn and what we must do to facilitate our learning will assist us in developing the study skills necessary to learn.
So this is a progression, developing a taste, appreciation, understanding the importance, and then applying it, and then developing those skills that bring about the qualities of a Vaishnava. Yeah. Responsibility of the learner. So we all have a responsibility to learn, but here's the method by which we follow. Okay? That was also mentioned in previous slides. Okay, so here, this verse was quoted earlier in this same thing, but it's so important that we're quoting it again. One of the ladies could read? Nice and loud.
All the devotees connected with this Krishna consciousness movement must read all the books that have been translated, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita and others. Otherwise, after some time, they will simply eat, sleep and fall down from their position. Thus, they will miss the opportunity to attain an eternal blissful life of transcendental pleasure.
From Madhya Lila 25:278. So we quoted this the second time. The Prabhupada makes a point that we must read these books. Otherwise, we'll go back to material activities such as finding more satisfaction in the basic, what we might say, needs of the body. And then what is the result? We'll miss the opportunity for eternal blissful life. These books they're not simply books, they're incarnations of Krishna in literary form that have been manifested in the form of books. So you're actually associating with the Lord when you're connecting yourself with this knowledge through the books. Okay. Which deity is this? Deity from where? Vrindavan. Everybody is it. Good. Okay. Someone?
Shastra Chakshus, realization. One should develop the ability to see through the eyes of Shastra with a Krishna conscious world view. The ultimate goal is to realize Krishna's presence everywhere and to see His hand in everything.
Who knows the verse that connects with this particular photo? Where's the mic? Okay, looks like you got usurped.
Vidya Vinay Sampanne Brahmani Gavi Hastini Suni Chaiva Swapakecha Pandita Samadarshana.
Pandita Samadarshana, one who sees with equal vision. He's a Pandit. What is he seeing? He's not seeing the body, but he's seeing the soul within all of the different types of bodies. Therefore, he's seeing the absolute truth. In other words, he's seeing through spiritual vision. Okay? This is applying, seeing through the eye of Scripture. We might not be able to come to that level, but we can at least apply that understanding by quoting Scripture, understanding through Scripture. And that leads to realization. Okay? Okay, here's an interesting one. Nice and loud.
Personal realization does not mean that one should, out of vanity, attempt to show one's own learning by trying to surpass the previous Acharya. He must have full confidence in the previous Acharya, and at the same time, he must realize the subject matter so nicely that he can present the matter for the particular circumstances in a suitable manner. The original purpose of the text must be maintained. No obscure meaning should be screwed out of it. Yet it should be presented in an interesting manner for the understanding of the audience. This is called realization.
Yeah. So devotees now are preaching in different venues around the world, taking the philosophy of Krishna consciousness and applying it to certain situations that are going on in the material world to attract people to spiritual life, for spiritual principles. So that's taking that same knowledge that's given by the acharyas, understanding it, learning how to see the situation one finds themselves in. Just like recently, I just received a video of devotees preaching in some countries in former Russia, the former Russian bloc. And they're using very generic terms to explain Krishna conscious principles. But they always come back to the divine principles. Without speaking directly about the personality of Godhead as the goal, they speak about the principles that lead to devotional service. Because their audience is not ready for, let me say, pure devotional rhetoric or understanding. So gradually taking the audience, moving them from place to place, depending on the audience. This is usually done in Western countries, not in India. India, people don't need to be spoken to in an obscure way. We can get right to the subject because everyone in India is familiar with Shastra, with Krishna in some form or another. But this is called preaching according to time, place, and circumstance, without creating your own meaning. This is quite difficult to do. You have to have a working knowledge of the scriptures, how the spiritual master has explained it. Take it, see the audience, try to understand what they need to hear in order for them to become interested in spiritual life, or to the values that spiritual life is practiced. So this is a little difficult, but it can be done. Any questions about this? No questions? Okay. Okay, here we go.
Knowledge and understanding, personal application, preaching application, faith and conviction, Prabhupada's mood and mission, evaluation, academic and moral integrity, responsibility for learning, Shastra Chakshus, realization.
This is a summation of everything we covered. So this is the last slide in the presentation, and it's just summing up everything that we covered. Knowledge, but not only knowledge, understanding it, applying it in your personal life, applying it for preaching, developing the faith and the conviction of the knowledge that is given. What is Prabhupada's mood and mission? We talked about that. The evaluation and how to apply the mood and mission in different situations. Academic and moral integrity, sticking to scriptures, not trying to change things according to your own ideas. Taking the responsibility to learn. In other words, it's a service. We're meant to study and learn these books as a service. It's not simply something that is optional. It's meant to be done by each and every devotee. And then the last one, which we just covered, seeing through the eyes of Scripture, quoting Scripture, and seeing that, speaking accordingly, Shastra Chakshus. Okay, I think that is the end. Yeah. Okay, so that covers 3 days of activities. Any questions about anything we covered in the last 3 days? This last slide was pretty much a summation of everything. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for this wonderful seminar. Maharaj, just as the title was there, that why it is more important to read Srila Prabhupada books now. So I just want to relate it, just clarify. Now means before it was like less important or it was manageable, something?
Well, when Prabhupada was here and the movement was still new, all the knowledge was available. But now we have to recreate the situations that gave us that knowledge through hearing from disciples of disciples, like that. So as time goes on, the teachings of the founder Acharya become less and less obvious or more difficult to, acquiesce. Of course, they're there in Prabhupada's books, but even when you read Prabhupada's books, you need to understand the context by which the knowledge is given and how to apply that knowledge also. So now, as we talked about, there was 3 ways to bring back that knowledge. What was the three ways? That was in the first presentation. Okay? Himanshu wants to 3 ways by which we can recreate that knowledge or bring it back.
The 3 steps which you mentioned, Guru Maharaj, personal study, group study, or systematic group study.
Personal study, group study, and systematic study. So personal study is you read the books. We gave a procedure by which you can approach the books. There was 10 steps on how you can benefit from reading on your own. And then that's one method of learning. The other method is to gather a few devotees together, read together, discuss, try to understand through discussion, through understanding coming from different angles of vision. And the last one is what we're doing now, a more systematic presentation of that knowledge, coming in an organized way, such as seminars and classes like that. So these are 3 methods by which we can learn. Good. So does that help answer? So now means it's more difficult now to understand everything than it was when it was first given. Because everything was there. Prabhupada was there, and the movement was still developing, and everything was given to him. Now, before, all you had to do was ask. Now you have to find. And if you don't, what happens? We lose our connection with the essence of the praxis, which is the knowledge given by Prabhupada, both in the knowledge of the absolute truth and in the knowledge of the process to achieve the absolute truth, both. So, as it says here, recreate what was given in the past. And devotees don't read. Am I quoting out of context? Devotees don't read. We just don't read. We like to play with our cell phones and see movies. We don't read. We don't read enough. Therefore, we should somehow or other create these reading retreats where you can just read and discuss like that. It sharpens your intelligence when you discuss the knowledge. The intelligence needs to be used. If we don't use the intelligence for understanding this process, we'll be using our intelligence how to control the material energy. We have to use, the intelligence is an active principle of the living entity's existence. So if the intelligence is not given some opportunity or developed, then it will either be less or it will go in a different direction. Someone asked Prabhupada, I don't have any intelligence. So what did Prabhupada say? No. He said, get some. It's available. The intelligence is coming from the source of intelligence, Krishna himself, through different avenues, such as guru, sadhus, experiences. Get some intelligence. Prabhupada said that's not an excuse. That's what he was saying. Don't you say I don't have any intelligence, that doesn't mean you leave it at that. Get some. But animals have intelligence too, but not that kind of intelligence. The dog won't go into the kitchen when the master is there, but when the master leaves in, he runs in the kitchen, steals some food. Dog knows when to go and when not to go. So that's intelligence. But not that kind of intelligence. How to make money, how to make good arrangements within the family. The animals are doing that. So the intelligence is to try to understand and practice the process by which we awaken our natural attraction for Krishna. And I use the word natural because natural means it's already there. But the intelligence is the feature by which it becomes realized. What does that mean? Prabhupada explains that the closest thing to the soul is the intelligence. So you can connect with the soul through spiritual intelligence. Connect with Krishna through spiritual intelligence. Yeah. So read the books. I don't have any time. You don't have any time because time is not yours anyway. So whatever time is available, given to you, use it. It's borrowed anyway. So take time to read these books and discuss them. Group study is very effective. Of course, we're giving systematic study regularly through these different presentations, but group study is nice. Devotees can get together. Brahmacharis have brahmachari classes. Grihasthas can also do something similar. People can just get together and have their little study groups, choose something from Prabhupada's books, and then read, and then try to understand it, and then discuss it. And you'll be amazed to see how many different things come out in discussions after you read. When you don't discuss it, you don't see it. Even by reading it, you don't really get everything that could be gotten. But by discussion, it comes out. Any questions? Yes.
Maharaj, my question is from yesterday's class. Yesterday you mentioned that we should memorize all the purports of Srila Prabhupada. And
what did I say? We should memorize what?
All the purports of Prabhupada.
Prabhupada said, memorize my purports and then speak, then present this knowledge according to your own realizations. Yes.
Yes, Maharaj, my question is that while trying to present in our own words, it may sometimes not happen that we get into something else. Or trying to...
Well, that comes under the category of realization. You read Prabhupada's purports, you try to memorize it, then when you're out speaking to someone or preaching, then you take what you memorized and explain it. That's all. You might not be able to quote it exactly how you memorized it, but you can explain it based on how much you learned from reading it. That's what we're trying to do. That's it is. We read something and then we explain it. We're just like when we give a class. So we take the verse, we take the purport, we read, and then we speak something. So we're speaking based on the verse, but we're using our own words to explain it.
How can we maintain that that while speaking in own words, we do not deteriorate the meaning?
Huh?
How do we keep this?
How do we, in our own words, how do we not do what?
We not deteriorate the meaning itself.
Not change the meaning?
Not change the meaning. Deviating from the actual meaning.
Well, if you're deviating, then that means you either have a motivation that you want to present that is different than the verse, or you just don't know how to explain what you read. Like sometimes I see devotees, they'll read a verse and purport and they'll speak about something completely different. And it really has no relevance to at all what the verse was about. So read it, try to understand it, and then explain it in your own words. That's realization. Yeah. Just like you see every day, we give a class. The speaker reads, and then he explains based on what he reads. That's what we're doing. But if you read it and then you speak it in a different way, then you're deviating from the real meaning. So what Prabhupada is trying to teach us is how to use our intelligence to explain what he's given to us in different words, different ways that we can explain it, depending on the audience we're speaking to. Is that clear? But don't change it around. Keep the meaning, but explain that same meaning. That's all. You can use examples how to explain something also. Okay. Any other questions? Mataji? I'll get to your question in a minute.
How to find interest in book reading?
How to find
interest in book reading?
In book reading? how to find interest in your book reading. So sometimes we say, read in a systematic way, but some people can't do that. So then we say, all right, find something of interest in the scriptures that you like to read, some particular story, some particular pastime, some particular philosophical teaching, and then read that. The point is to read. You may choose what you want, you can read, as long as you choose from the books, and then read them. That's fine. You might like a particular story in the scripture, so read that, study it, and then learn it, and then you can speak it. If you know one pastime, you can tell it to everybody you meet, same pastime, and you're preaching. So you don't have to go through this step by step. That's also recommended, to go from read the Bhagavatam starting from the first canto all the way up. That's recommended. But some people can't do that or won't do it, so all right, but at least read something. So find something in the Bhagavatam that you find interesting, or in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and then focus on that. Is that okay? Does that answer your question? Okay? That's your question, right? I'm asking you what I said. Was that okay, or do you still have a question? It's okay? Okay. Thank you.
Guru Maharaj, in a slide, there was mood of Srila Prabhupada, where five overall prospects: deity worship, and book distribution, and prasadam seva, and sankirtan, and one of cow protection. So cow protection is the symbol of establishing varnashram?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the activities of those who are, what we say, Vaishya. Vaishyas do cow protection. So, it's not that we are doing it according to, we're doing it as a service. No, we're not protecting cows just to protect cows, we're doing it as a service to Krishna. It's devotional service, yeah. So Varnashram, but it's not just Varnashram, it's described as being spiritual Varnashram, not material Varnashram. Material Varnashram, as Prabhupada said, is too difficult to organize in this society because everything is upside down. Nobody knows how to organize their different varnas in an organized way. Everything is based on money. People are motivated by money, not by activity. But in Krishna consciousness, we're motivated by service to the Lord. So that is spiritual varnashram. So the Brahmins, they do their service, and they do their, what we say, they follow Brahminical qualities as a service, not simply as a varna. Is that okay? Yeah, this is spiritual.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Thank you.
Yes, Sri Devi has something.
Thank you, Maharaj, for this seminar. This person I know does a lot of deity worship seva, and he says to me that I just can't read, and even when I read, nothing sticks in my head. I can't remember, it just goes out of my head. So how we can help such people who try to read but cannot retain anything?
You mean how to create a method for retention? Yeah, there's ways. One is to read with someone. That way you can discuss it, and then when you discuss it, you'll memorize it. We had that 10 points. When you're reading, you come across a point, you write it down that you find interesting. After you read, you go back over and you think about what you read to try to remember. Like that. Telling another person about what you read will help you remember. That's the easiest way. We were explaining how those who preach, they have the greatest amount of retention of the knowledge that they read, as opposed to those who don't preach. As soon as you speak it, it becomes part of you. You can remember it easier.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, we have some more prayers from more sheets which contain the prayers of Sanatana Goswami to Srimad Bhagavatam. It's from Krishna Lila Stava. We passed out some. Does anybody need a copy of these? Raise your hand if you want a copy of these prayers. Okay, so take the prayers, and anyone who has their hand up, give them a copy. Okay, so you can go some to the ladies' side if they need it. Okay. These are nice. Before you read Bhagavatam, it sets the mood for reading Bhagavatam by reading these prayers. Okay, so read the books. Thank you. Krishna Kishore, you want to close the class with something relevant? Give him a microphone.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for this very systematic seminar. Srila Prabhupada said he always live in his books, and you gave us that understanding and inspiration to study Srila Prabhupada books deeply, understand, preach on the basis of Srila Prabhupada books, apply in our lives. So making Srila Prabhupada more available and more present in our lives. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That is actually the goal, is to become, when we say, fixed in our devotional service by knowledge. When you're fixed in knowledge, you're fixed. Yeah, we have another statement by Sri Devi.
Thank you, Maharaj, once again. And I thank Krishna Kshetra Prabhu also for giving us this opportunity in this form to hear these divine words from you. Inspired by this seminar, Guru Maharaj, I would just like to say that within our group of different WhatsApp groups that we have started a reading group. Thanks to Himanshi, Yamini and Bhumika, who said, can we please have a reading group? So these three ladies inspired us to start a reading group. And now US, UK is following suit. On Monday, they will begin a reading group. Thanks to your seminar. Thank you.
Yeah. read the creed, get up to speed, take the lead. That's the need. You'll be happy indeed. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. You got to remember that one. Read the